Hi, Disang.
Madam Chair, morning.
Hi. I'm rounding up. I'm just waiting for some medication from the doc.
Okay, okay.
Then I'll try and make my way to my office. So I'm hoping that by 10 I'll be there.
You'll be there.
Yeah, it's just literally just around the corner. Doc, don't forget, this gives me a script, yeah, please. For the, oh, you've got the antihistamine, okay. Okay, Disang?
Yeah. We
Yeah, no,
still
no,
have
no.
we still have just up to 10, about 10 minutes, don't worry.
Okay, sure.
Chop chop.
Sharp, sharp.
Good morning, Chairperson, honorable members and colleagues.
Good morning, Pietra. Okay.
Recording in progress.
Morning, Petra.
Good morning, everyone.
Hi, morning, Chair.
Morning.
Good morning, colleagues.
Okay, let me just see what's happening here now on my screen. Okay, let me start the meeting by greeting all honorable members present in today's meeting, as well as greeting the officials from the department that is present, any delegations from the minister's office. I haven't seen the two ministers here, but when Disang takes us through the delegations, then we'll be able to see who is really present in today's meeting, and then the committee staff. Today is just a continuation of our meeting that we had last week, where the strategic plans and our 5-year plans were presented to us. Honorable members had ample time to go through all the presentations and then make submissions as well in the meeting, as well as in writing. And I do hope that those submissions were sent to Dr. Kuzwayo in time or to Disang in time, so that it could be captured in today's meeting. I would just like to further say that all of our priorities, I hope that, where we focused last week in terms of our priorities, that our priorities will all be captured, and that we as the committee would be able to go and do our oversight and play our oversight role, and in holding the executive accountable. Without further ado, I would just like to, I've just come from the doctor's office, and I'd just like to hand over to Honorable Hlongo, Ste Hlongo, to continue chairing the meeting. Honorable Hlongo.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. And I wish you get well, Chair. And Disang, can you please fly to the agenda? Disang, can you hear me?
Yes, Ma'am Hlongo, I'm flighting it.
Okay, thank you. The chairperson has already opened the meeting, and she mentioned that this is a continuation of the meeting that we had last week, honorable members. So we will proceed from where we left off last week, where we as honorable members engaged the program that was presented to us in the strategic plan, and we then made our inputs and then deployed our staff to go and look into the inputs that we had added into the program and the strategic plan. So we would then move to item 2 on our agenda, which is the adoption of the agenda. I will now note hands that seek to adopt the agenda. Honorable members, are we in the meeting?
Yes, Honorable Mhlongo, we are here.
Yes,
Where do we
Chairperson.
raise hands?
Honorable Maetra, your hand is up.
Please note me as not Chair.
Yes, Chair. Thank you. Greetings to members. I
I want to move for the adoption of the agenda.
Thank you, Honorable Maetre. Honorable Ishmael. Honorable Ishmael. Okay, let's go to Honorable Telezi.
Morning, everyone. Morning, Chairperson. I would also like to move with the agenda.
Thank you very much, Honorable Telezi, for seconding. I'll hand over to you, Tisang, for apologies.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Songo. The apologies I've received, it's from Honorable Mutley. I think he might be in the meeting, but he's unable to participate as he is also engaged in another commitment. And Honorable Maejo did submit an apology because consulting a doctor, but I see he managed to make it to the meeting. Yeah, and then those are the two apologies I've received. And then from the minister and the deputy minister, we had not necessarily invited them, but there are apologies. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tisang. Can you please bring back the agenda on the screen? And then Honorable Passon, I see your hand is up. Okay.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable Chairperson, there is a little bit of a delay in the link. I don't know if it's maybe the signal. I think that's why we are all struggling to answer you in time.
Oh, okay. I was not aware of that. Let me just change my connection quickly. Thank you for alerting me, Honorable Passon. Can you hear me now, Honorable members?
That's perfect. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. We'll then move to, now that the agenda is adopted, we'll then move to the fourth item on our agenda, the consideration and adoption of the strategic plan for 2024 to 2029 of the Portfolio Committee on Tourism. I'll then hand over to, is it you, Tisang, or is it the doc? I think it's the doctor. I'll now hand over to the doctor.
Good morning, Chairperson, and good morning, honorable members. And thank you for the opportunity to go through the amended documents. As the Chairperson has already said, the meeting today is just to finalize the documents. So there is 3 sets of documents, as the agenda says, is consideration and adoption. It's 3 documents that needs to be adopted by the committee today. The first one is the 5-year strategic plan. The second one is the annual performance plan. And the third one is the program of the committee that now operationalize the annual performance plan. And the way we will be dealing with these documents, Honorable Chairperson and members, I will go through the 5-year strategic plan and the annual performance plan. Then, because in those documents, members have to make a decision today in terms of which country is preferred, which country or countries are preferred for the international study tour. I will then hand over on that part to the committee researcher, Mrs. Sandaloni, to just briefly take the committee through the country profiles so that members can make an informed decision, as was discussed in the meeting last week. And then Tisang Committee Secretary will come at the end to deal with the the committee program that will take us to the end of the financial year. The documents were circulated by the committee secretary to the members, and therefore I'm not going to like last week to go through everything, and even with the amendments, because I consider the documents as read. Even with the documents, I won't be reading through everything. I'll just maybe go through a few to show members how we dealt with these issues. We did receive inputs from members, and we have been consolidating until late afternoon yesterday. That is why members would have received the documents in the afternoon, because some inputs we were receiving during the day yesterday. So we wanted to include all the inputs. But what I must say upfront, honorable members, is that with the inputs from members, one, identified that some of the issues that are raised by the members are already in the document, either in a very clear manner or in an implied way. So some of the issues that members raised, we then took them as already in the document, but where they were like really substantive issues, we then added that information. So I'm just looking at the APP, because the APP is the same as the 5-year strategic plan. So for the sake of time and engagement of members, we will just go through the annual performance plan and not the 5-year strategic plan, because the issues that are captured here are captured also in the 5-year strategic plan. So we made track changes in the documents. Members will see where the document is read on that is where the changes were made. I'm trying to let me stop sharing this one and see if I can't get a document that will, because I thought that one is the one that will assist members. I'm not sure if the document I'm sharing is visible to members.
No, it's not yet.
It's
I think
not
it's still-
yet.
Yeah, now it's here.
Now it's there. Yeah, members will see, as I'm saying, I wanted to display the one that, for example, members will recall that initially we did not have, because we wanted to finalize all the issues before we put the table of contents. So the revised document now has the table of contents and the changes. If members click here, you will see the changes in terms of the track changes that we made. So I'll just go through, and there was some issue with numbering as well that I picked up, and I had to fix that. Others were just cosmetic issues, like the issues of spacing and so on. So we dealt with those issues, with all those issues in the document. Like I'm saying, there was issue with numbering here. All I remember is we had to fix that. So these are just cosmetic issues in terms of the document, but important because the document has to refer to exact numbers as appearing per page and per topic. And there were issues that were raised. And I'm saying, for example, like in the National Development Plan, there were issues that were raised by members around the National Development Plan in terms of what it means for tourism. As I'm saying, these are issues that are already in the document, so we did not repeat those because in terms of what is in the document, we had tried in the original document to show to members to say this section of the NDP deals with, like, for example, chapter 3 deals with contribution of tourism in the economy and employment in the country, and members were raising those issues in some of the inputs, issues of infrastructure, issues of marketing and so on. So these issues were already in the original document, and so we did not revise those. So the ERRP, we already have it here, but more articulated more in the tourism master plan. So there was an issue also around the NTSS in terms of what the NTSS says. That was in the contributions from one of the members that was dealing with this issue here of the NTSS, and the NTSS already has this like in the original document already captured like the contribution of the sector, the employment directly and indirectly, the export earnings and so on. This information was already here. So let me just maybe go to areas now where we really had to include information. For example, let's look at this aspect here of tourism as a concurrent function. So we had to deal with that issue of tourism as a concurrent function in terms of I'm trying, this thing is moving. I don't know what is happening, honorable members, pardon me. When I try and click, it moves. So you will pardon me here because I just wanted to, I'll just talk to issues maybe without clicking on the side, because if I click, I'm not showing this display mode what is happening here. But members will see where there is where there is this red line. That is all information, new information. For example, there was an input from one member who was saying, no, we need to look at the this aspect here where maybe there's a committee advocates for the amendment in the Division of Revenue Act for a ring fence tourism infrastructure grant, particularly to municipalities with clean audits, and then to task COCTA with integration tourism in the funding of municipalities. So that will deal with the whole issue of tourism as a concurrent function there. So this is new information that was added in the document. Also, now in terms of the committee priorities, we had to also add some information let's look at oversight visits. These were the issue that was raised by members. I keep doing this. Issue of oversight visits. Like members made some salient issues in terms of oversight visits. So if you look at all this is information that was not there in the original document. To say oversight visits will also target heritage sites Then we'll include stakeholder engagements in areas being visited. You'll recall the question that you asked yourself, Honorable Hlongo, last week, where you said, but when we go to these people, who do we meet and so on? So we then had to effect that amendment to say when you go to oversight visits, you'll also target the heritage sites, then you'll have stakeholder engagements in areas being visited. You'll also visit tourist attractions, and you'll also make unannounced visits. Do you remember, members, there was that whole issue around the undocumented foreigners who are employed in the tourism sector. So we had to capture all those issues here. And also all these are new issues. And also to say where possible, also committee will be looking at cost benefit analysis of the spend in areas that are being visited. That will be in terms of the national budget, but also the budget that is allocated to tourism by provincial authorities. And this whole issue of looking at the provincial statistics in every province that will be visited. We also said in this issue, the committee will also in every province and municipality that is this issue of unfunded mandate, as the committee was saying, will be addressed. Under transformation as well, the whole issue around conducting oversight over the South African Transformation Council was highlighted strongly by members last week and in one of the submissions. And also there is this issue of the tourism sector codes and how the whole BEE issue needs to be addressed by the committee. So we're looking at the issue of BEE as a legislated matter to say, for example, the committee cannot go against legislation. But what will happen in terms of what we said, the committee will focus on the implementation of the tourism sector codes as prescribed by government, and then tracking how the sector has gone in terms of those sector implementing those sector codes. So these issues are here. And also there was an issue, members will recall, to say sometimes when you are in your constituencies, you'll be driving around, then you'll be seeing marketing or advertisement of some events in your constituencies, in your provinces. So we had to include that one also here, like attending local constituency tourism events, be it at a provincial or local government. So we are saying the members will prioritize attending these events. That includes issues where maybe there might be opening of tourism facilities or attractions, particularly by the minister. Let's say there is an attraction or a project that has been implemented by the and is being handed over. So members in those localities may attend also exhibitions and other cultural events. For example, for those in KZN, there has been like Umkhosi Womhlanga. So these are kinds of events that you have to look at how to then incorporate them into tourism. But also the issue that will be raised with the ministry is this issue of invitations. Members were saying sometimes they get invitations late, so I've included it here. So it will be communicated to the ministry to say whenever there are invitations, the minister must invite the committee early. But to do this efficiently, SAT always compiles a calendar of events annually. From all provinces, they'll collect a calendar of events. So what will happen here, we are proposing that as the staff will source this calendar of events for members, And then members can always, even if there's no invitation from the minister, they can always follow up in terms of what is happening in their localities. Also, South African tourism, we will always, like if there are exhibitions and so on and so on, they'll always tell members, okay, there'll be this exhibition and so on and so on. So that issue of events and exhibitions in localities has been taken care of. Then there is this issue that members were also talking about last week that we had to incorporate. So we just, all of them grouped them as niche tourism. So these are kinds of issues that we added because members will recall there was the discussion around your sports tourism, there was discussions around agri-tourism and so on. So we are seeing this committee in the 7th Parliament will focus on identification of this niche tourism and then engage the department in the subsequent financial years that these things are incorporated in the annual performance plans of departments. So here we're looking at issues such as agri-tourism. It was discussed at length, and I can see it is a serious consideration by members from last week and from the submissions that we got from members. Sports tourism also, cruise tourism. There are provinces like Western Cape, KZN and Eastern Cape to some extent that are leveraging on cruise tourism. Health tourism is a big issue in South Africa, but is not like enshrined or institutionalized. So we need to look at how this is then streamlined within your tourism plans. Then you have issues of what is normally called dark tourism in South Africa, looking at battlefields. Provinces have serious historical battle sites that are visited. Some of these they are left unkept by Department of Arts and Culture and so on as heritage sites. So we'll be looking at all these things. There are those that have like annual events like the enactment of the Battle of Sandlwana and KZN. So all these things, the committee will be looking, ecotourism, astrotourism. Members will recall there was just a launch of astrotourism in Northern Cape. Also cuisine. When you look at cuisine, it's not just food and wine. For example, Western Cape will be big in food and wine, in wine farms and so on. But other provinces, you'll have like African cuisine, where tourists will visit these, particularly in your township tourism and so on, where tourists want to sample African food. Cultural tourism, paleo tourism, like the cradle of humankind, and the Dumo Dinosaur Interpretation Center that was just launched by the minister recently. So these are the areas where, for example, the committee is visiting the Free State. So members will have to go and see this dinosaur. When you go to Gauteng, you'll have to go and see the cradle of humankind and all the associated tourism spin-offs and challenges. For example, there have been serious challenges reported around the cradle of humankind. So this is just to say, what does then niche tourism does? Why is the committee focusing on all these things? It is because of all these reasons. I'm not going to go through all of them. For example, we say niche tourism will address the 3 priorities of the GNU, and what happens with the niche tourism segment is that, for example, you will have high value tourists that want to zoom into let's take betting, for example. Those are people that will just come to the country, to a particular place, because they are here for betting. So that these people tend to be high spenders, and therefore you need to target those high spending tourists. So it also assists in tourism in creating or harnessing local skills. For example, you'll then have people who will be like local guides that can be employed to guide tourists in particular attractions. So all in all, if niche tourism is a serious focus for this committee, it can then seriously benefit particularly your villages and townships in terms of your attractions and job creation in local areas. So we incorporated an example. This can happen with every type of a niche tourism aspect. But from one submission that we got, a member said, for example, I think honorable members can even guess who this member is, Honorable Linde, because like last week, together with Chairperson, they talked a lot about agritourism. So this was a suggestion, honorables, from Honorable Linde. I'll just single this one out to say, for example, to promote agritourism, to develop, promote, and market agritourism. These are the issues that need to be done. To say, for example, there needs to be a dedicated agritourism program that needs to be launched by Department of Tourism. So when the committee engages the department, these are the issues that will be recommended to the department to say there must be an agritourism program and legislation in terms of zoning. When you go to municipalities, there are serious issues about zoning, and also to ensure that there is certification and tax breaks for qualifying farms that will be engaging in agritourism and so on and so on. So this can be done for every other niche, to say for this particular niche segment to flourish, what needs to be done. So incorporation of digital transformation, like your niche tourism, this is a whole new topic that we had to, as much as it is there in the document, but from what the members said last week, we then included it as a standalone to say it would be important, particularly for SAT, to keep abreast of all the digital trends in the sector through product offerings and the way they do their work in terms of how they conduct businesses. But this is also important for marketing purposes, because if you look at the modern tourist, these are the people that want to share their experiences live on time. So you need to have, for example, Wi-Fi or talk to these network providers to ensure that, particularly where you have these most frequently visited attractions, you have some sort of coverage in terms of network, so that when people want to post on Instagram and so on, and those who are influencers who want to chat live with their followers and so on. So all this issue around the digital, but also it's not just about marketing, your whole AI issue in terms of tourism. How do you include AI in tourism needs to be followed. And there was also this issue of tracking arrivals. I'm going to come back to these members in a short while, because here the issue of a dashboard, maybe I must give some historical background to members. I think way back in the fifth parliament, this committee tried to create a dashboard to engage SA Tourism. SA Tourism developed a dashboard, but at a parliament level, also the committee wanted to develop that dashboard. Then we were told as a committee then to put our plans in abeyance, because they wanted to take that and implement it to parliament as a whole. as of now, National Assembly is implementing some kind of a dashboard, and they have what we have been told by the committee section is that this financial year, moving forward to the next financial year, because they did it, I think, with 3 committees. Now they want to do 10 committees. It will be 8 committees in the National Assembly and 2 committees in the NCOP. So what we are doing as staff through the office of the chairperson is then to engage committee section to see if tourism cannot be one of those committees that are reporting to the National Assembly in terms of these issues, economic, the issue of arrivals in terms of tourism, economic contribution and job creation, which are part of the GNU priorities and therefore the priorities of Parliament and priorities of this committee by extension. So if the committee is not included in these 10 committees that will be piloted in terms of this dashboard reporting, what we are proposing to members to be communicated to SAT is that for every quarterly reporting that that entity is making to the committee, they must then include this. What used to happen before, there were indicators around job creation, around arrivals, around contribution. But the committee, together with the then minister, it was agreed. I'm now addressing the issue of some of the recommendations from members to say, for example, let us have KPIs in terms of these issues. So SAT used to report on these matters, but it will depend on this committee if maybe members want to bring that back. But it was taken out of the APP of South African Tourism because these issues do not necessarily sit within the control of the department nor SAT. These are just figures that will be tracked by the entity as and when numbers are available. There are quarterly migration reports in terms of arrivals, for example, that will be coming from States SA. Then on annual basis, you'll have information on the contribution, economic contribution and job creation. And these are not within the purview of the entity. So whenever these targets were not met, the entity would always bring that explanation. And the committee then agreed that no, they should be taken out. The issue with having those KPIs, one as a committee, because one of the inputs from members was that let's have this as our KPIs. We cannot, members, have this as our KPIs because we are not responsible for contributing to GDP, to job creation. Ours is to conduct oversight. So what we can track on quarterly basis, maybe as an annexure when SAT does presentations, is to deal with these issues. So as I said, because of time, I'm not gonna deal with all the issues, members. But as I said, wherever you see those red lines, that is, those are the new issues. This one is important, rationalizing marketing budget in the country. The issue with marketing budget, you have budget over R1 billion that the department will then allocate to SAT as a transfer. But also the tourism sector does their own marketing. Private sector does it in twofold. One, there is that tourism levy that is conducted and managed by Tomsa Levy, which is then handed to SAT. And again, each facility will then market their own facilities. They'll then attend these international exhibitions and so on and so on. So there is a lot of marketing budget. Some provinces also allocate marketing, but it is fragmented. And also you have marketing that sits with Brand SA, hence the recommendation of the merger and we captured that issue of because it deals with two issues: the issue of uh, duplication and the issue of the mandate itself of marketing the country with Brand SA. But there is something that one has seen in the media, members. I'm not sure if it will get traction. That is in regard to Tomsa Levy. If you look at the APP of SAT in terms of their revenue sources, then they will include funds that come from Tomsa Levy. So there has been a SATSA conference last week, and in that conference, a decision was taken that no, this Tomsa levy in the tune of just above 500 million for the current financial year must be withheld. It will not be handed over to SAT for the obvious issues of governance and the board and the issues around the board. So this is the issue. I'm not sure we'll hear when SAT comes whether the industry simply, because if that was to happen, then it will substantially reduce the marketing budget that is available even for the current financial year, moving on to the next financial year for South African tourism, if that Tomsa levy is withheld. So I will stop there, honorable members, in terms of because other issues we did not change much, including the KPIs. As I'm saying, these KPIs are not in the purview of the committee, but they are a responsibility of the executive. So what we suggest the committee will do, because there are many of them, that members have suggested. So these issues that we are discussing here will be then highlighted in the next BRRR in October. All committees of parliament, as members know, will be going through the budget review and recommendations report. So all the issues that members raised last week and the issues that we received from the inputs, we will then include them in the recommendations of the committee early on, so that throughout the remainder of the financial year, the department and the entity may start implementing those recommendations. So this is not just information that is going to sit in the priorities of the committees in these plans. We will lift them up from these committee priorities and put them into operation through recommending to the minister to do all these things that members said must be done. So members will then have an opportunity, and we invite members really to thoroughly, then when we look at the BRRR for this year, we invite members to thoroughly look at those recommendations, because they should include all these issues that members have raised in the strat plan. Previously, that helped a lot to load the BRRR with these recommendations, because then the minister, together with the department and the entity, they are then able to really know what are the priorities of the committee moving forward. If I make an example, if you look at what is now called VTSDs, villages, townships, and small dorpies, something that came through the strat plan of the committee, then it was communicated to the minister, then it was prioritized in the 5-year strategic plan when they revised in the following year, and also in the subsequent APPs until now. When you open the APPs and the strat, you'll see those that emphasis on the VTSD is there. It dealt with issue of geographical spread, even of events, SAT in terms of the National Convention Bureau, and they were focusing on major towns at the time, but now you can see they are spreading, they are trying to take some of these smaller events to smaller towns. So it was as a result of the process I'm outlining to say we will uplift all these issues that members have suggested and include them in the BRRR of the department. I want to move on to something, honorable members, to assist you in terms of the dashboard, because I'm not sure. I know on our side we haven't done it, honorable members. So as I said before, SAT has a dashboard that they are implementing, and that dashboard it deals with the issues around your arrivals, your economic contribution, and so on and so on. So I just want to quickly go through a process that can assist members. If you bear with me for a while. I am sharing a screen, Honorable Chairperson, and I'm not sure, this thing keeps on dropping here. I'm not sure if it is appearing, Chairperson, on your side.
Yes, it is appearing.
Yes. So this is very important piece of information, because before even SAT comes to the committee, as we are suggesting that on quarterly basis, they will have an annexure that will be included in terms of tracking the statistics in terms of the sector. If you go to a website for South African tourism, it's members can look, you can just, it's www.southafrica.net, or you can just on the search engine of the Google search engine, just type South African tourism. Then the page for South African tourism will pop out there. If you get in that page, in this, this is the page that you get, but you can then either just at the bottom here, there are these links, honorable members, that will give information about South African tourism. And then you can either go through the menu here. If you go through the menu, it shows you this information here. And in this information, you have this page here, which is research. Then under research, then you'll go to overview. If you go to overview, then it opens this page that will then give you a list of a dashboard. But that is a long way to do it. The shorter way will be on this page. When you open the page of South African tourism, as I said, you have these links here. It's just to click this one here on research. If you click on research, then it gives you this research overview page. So what happens in this page, members, is that you are, for the sake of time, I just zoom into one or two just to assist members in terms of the dashboard, because that came out sharply when members were making inputs in terms of creating a dashboard so that you can track what is happening in the sector. When you get into this, let's take international arrivals. If you click on international arrivals here, it then opens a page that gives you international tourist arrivals. Then if you go down, then you can see you have international tourist arrivals. And it gives you by origin, where these tourists are from, like from the Americas, from Africa Air and Africa Land. Africa Air are those that came through the airports. Africa Land, these are those who came through the land borders. Then it will give you the total arrivals here. And this information is as of July 2025. So then it will tell you Europe, Australia, and so on and so on. So you have you have other pages that are hidden. You can then go through these pages. Then you can see also click by region to say if you want to see from Africa land, for example, click Africa land, then it tells you from which countries those arrivals were from and how many were those arrivals. And you can also for example, also if you look at domestic, or maybe what will be of most interest, I think, to members will be your issue of domestic tourism, but mostly your provincial tourist arrivals. You can then, in terms of your constituencies, in terms of your provinces, also see figures in this dashboard to say even the contribution in terms of spend, the average rate of stay as per the provinces here. For example, this one will be, let me just zoom a little bit. I think it's not clear. Yeah, if you look at this one here, honorable member, this is Western Cape, then it will tell you, and this is a comparison for this is up to 2024. So you have Western Cape, you have Northern Cape. You can see Northern Cape is the least in terms. It is in terms of the of land. It is the biggest province, but in terms of the size of tourism, you can just by looking at this, you can see the size of tourism by province in the country, and also in terms of how much does tourism contribute. So you can then open these pages to see uh, various information in terms of quarterly tourist arrivals and so on and so on. In those quarterly arrivals, you can see the share of the spread or the spread of those tourists as per those arrivals. So also the spend, you can also see the spend in terms of quotas to say which then if you want to see the spend and the bed nights and the length of stay per province. This is for Western Cape. But if you were to click here and say, for example, you want to check Gauteng, Honorable Mayeko, then you see that for Gauteng, this will be your information. So you're able then by click of these information pieces in the dashboard, you're able to see what is not clearly indicated is the issue of I'm taking down the document now. So what is not clear is the issue of jobs created. Jobs created, as I'm saying, normally those will be annually published. So right now we're dealing with the information, the latest information from WTTC that tells us that we are sitting at about 1.6 in terms of your people employed. So we'll see next year how many people will be there and contribution and so on and so on. But in the dashboard that we are suggesting that SAT will do, then all that information will be available, honorable members. So for the sake of time, let me stop there because in terms of the study tour, members said no, you will request that research team does some exercise in terms of profiles. So I'll hand over to my colleague, Usisanda Loni, the researcher, to then briefly take members through, yeah, but she will say everything. Members recall we were saying last week, whether we're looking at countries where we're SATS offices, we're looking at BRICS and so on and so on. So Ms. Loni will take the committee through that information. I'm not sure whether Desang, you made her a co-host so that she can, or you can just share her document if she's not a co-host so that she can briefly take the members through those profiles. Thank you, Chairperson and members.
Yeah, I've
Okay.
made a post.
You can go on, Desang.
Yes, Sisanda.
Morning members, morning, Desang. I hope I'm audible. Desang, can you hear me?
You are, ma'am.
Oh, okay, thank you, Chair. Oh, okay, I just want to check now. Okay, I didn't realize I was a co-host. So I just want to see if I can share the document. Desang, are you sure I'm a co-host? Because I don't have any, let me just see.
Okay, let me share it for you.
Okay, thank you. You can just go right towards the end where the annexure starts. The document is not appearing on screen unless it's only just me. Okay, in the interest of time, Chairperson, the document has not yet appeared, but I can start in the meantime because the document was shared with members. So I'm hoping that members would have it on their screens. Can I go ahead, Chairperson?
Yes, you can. But Desang, can you please flight it? I don't see Desang in the meeting anymore. Probably he's probably disconnected. Okay, here's someone sharing.
Okay. Doc, are you winning? Dr. Kuzwayo?
We can hear you, ma'am.
Oh, no, I'm just waiting for Dr. Kuzwayo to try and share from his side. He's just opened up his inbox for now.
Okay, can I please request members to just look into the document as it was sent to us because time is not on our side and you can proceed now.
I think I'm not sure. I think I'm sharing, Chairperson, is not appearing.
No, we just see the screen of your laptop.
I opened this because I'm trying to open it from the.
I'm back, Chair. I was locked off.
So can you see it now, Chairperson?
Yes, we can see it now. You can now
Oh,
proceed.
I thought it was sharing. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Doc. Can you just go towards the end of the document to start at where the annexure starts? Let's go further down. There you go. Thank you so much. So, in the interest of time, Chair, I'll just try to go through this very quickly, but I won't go through each and every country because I think that as the document was shared, hopefully members had an opportunity to go through the different countries and the country information. So the countries that have been identified, the information provided is based on the requirements that were mentioned by members in the meeting last week. The list is not extensive, and key consideration was to include countries where South African tourism has a hub or offices, and also so the main reason for that is that the trip would serve two purposes. One is that obviously the learning best practices from a particular country, and also at the same time provide the committee with an opportunity to actually do oversight over these hubs, which is something that has not been done even with previous committees. So before speaking on these particular countries that have been chosen, I thought it would be prudent to highlight that the top 10 largest tourism economies by economic contribution that have been published at the end of 2024, and the countries that have been identified for potential study tour basically also form part of this particular top 10. And the first one is the United States of America, which basically is looking at an economic contribution from the tourism sector of around 2.36 trillion US dollars. And this country is very popular, obviously, for its various. Doc, you don't need to go down for now because what I'm currently mentioning is not necessarily part of it's just an overview. It's not part of the current list. So the USA is primarily known for its iconic sites, your national parks, business hubs, as well as cultural attractions. So I'll just provide you with the top 5 instead of the 10. The second one is China, which is looking at an economic contribution from the tourism sector of around 1.3 trillion US dollars. And that is looking at the fact that the country is so large in terms of domestic markets, as well as an intentional investment in tourism facilities, as well as amenities. You're also looking at Germany making the list there, with looking at about 4.887 billion contribution from the tourism sector, well known for leisure activities as well as business. Your fourth country there is Japan, with a contribution from tourism of around about $2.97 billion. And the country is well known for its culture, technology, as well as global events. And lastly, the United Kingdom, which is looking at about $2.95 billion. And that one is well known for museums, castles, football, etc. France, India, and as well as Italy also make up that particular top 10. So some of the countries that have been recommended, as I've said, for the study to form part of this particular list. And basically, the idea in terms of this particular presentation is not to go through each and every country in terms of information, but just to highlight the commonalities among the countries. And the idea there is to show that ultimately every country provides an opportunity for best practice. So no country is least off when it comes to providing the committee with the opportunity to learn, whether it comes from the attraction sites, whether it comes from access, airlift, you name it, etc., visa facilitation, all of those are there. And at the end of the day, it is up to the committee to decide on how best to go forward when it comes to choosing one. So some of the commonalities when it comes to these particular countries is the fact that there is intentional investment when it comes to the tourism sector. So tourism is not just a focus on certain areas, but rather it is a country focus across your urban as well as rural areas. So that comes from in terms of the infrastructure that's in place, in terms of access between cities, between towns. That comes whether it's airlift or whether it's at the ground transportation level. You're also looking at, for instance, the connections that are basically made between these various areas. So you're looking at countries like Italy, India, France, and Germany. Those are in place basically. And tourism is a focus for those countries with intentional investment, not only just infrastructure, but also funding that's made available from the national to your local level. And then you can also look at, for instance, a perfect example when it comes to this is India, where the country has made it a focus to grow as a tourist destination, and that is to invest primarily in 50 tourist destination sites over the next few years as a means to build their tourism sector and ensure that facilities basically meet a certain standard that will entice your international visitors. What India has done, Doc, you can go down just to India for us? There you go. If you can just stop there with investment policy focus. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's the portion. That's the one. Thank you so much. So what India basically has done is the country has made loans available specifically for homestays. So there's that intentional investment in those kind of products basically to encourage your, what do you call it, geographic spread as well between destinations in the country. You're looking at also the focus on e-visa facilitation as a means to simplify access into the country. They're also specifically focusing on initiatives towards communities where they're putting money basically into developing their smaller towns that share the borders with Nepal as well as China, ensuring that the basic services are available there and ensuring that those small towns basically are self-sustainable. So in itself, it's building those rural areas for tourism, as well as obviously improving the livelihoods of communities in those towns. So there's also focus on investment initiatives from the country when it comes to infrastructure, and that is whether it comes to airlift, where they opening up your routes between regions in the country, and they're also specifically focusing funding when it comes to rejuvenating sites that will support niche markets such as spiritual tourism. You're looking at medical tourism. You're also looking at, for instance, I think there's a huge focus on what is called wellness tourism or mindfulness tourism, where basically you're looking at your wellness areas and the overall mental focus of the visitor, yoga, for instance, yoga resorts or yoga retreats, you name it, etc. So those are some of the intentional initiatives that are part of the country's strategy to develop tourism and ensure that it becomes a key economic driver in the country. Another commonality among these particular countries is also the investment in the domestic tourism market. And I think that's something that has been emphasized over the years by Parliament towards the department in ensuring that the domestic tourism market is vibrant in South Africa. And if you're looking at some of these countries, they've done exactly that and continue to do so. And I think members have also seen how this market has served a very key role when it comes to recovery after your post COVID-19. One thing you can observe from here when you look across these different countries is the fact that travelers are traveling within their own countries. If you're looking at France, for example, you're looking at Germany, for example, and how people are maximizing the opportunities provided by the natural resources, whether it comes to camping, it comes to hiking, you name it. You're also looking at wellness, etc. And the reason for some of that is the fact that obviously there's access via infrastructure. You're looking at the fact that visitations also across borders has been made easier when it comes to the Schengen visa, if you're looking at Europe. And also that the fact that countries have intentionally once again invested in their domestic facilities, or rather in their facilities for domestic travelers, something that South Africa is not yet necessarily catching up on when it comes to the small attraction sites, such as, for instance, your camping facilities, you're making sure that your hiking facilities, safety elements are taken care of, etc. So that's something that's very visible when it comes to some of these countries. You're also looking at for instance, in this instance, is in China, in terms of how they also intentionally or have intentionally invested in domestic travelers as a market for themselves. And there you're looking at specific, as I've said, it's infrastructure, it's targeted marketing campaigns for domestic travelers. You're looking at traveler packages that are on offer, not only just during a certain month, as we normally find here, which is your travel week in September, but these are across the year for some countries where they make use of your national holidays, for instance, to compile packages that are sold directly to locals as a means to try to get those day trips, to ensure those weekend trips, you name it, etc., the school holidays and all of that. So there is intentionality when it comes to this particular market. Another commonality here is the fact that it's about access, visas. Visa facilitation is very, very key. And here we're seeing it through the implementation of e-visa platforms, looking at, for instance, India, that's currently also doing that. Kenya is also intentionally opening up its borders. The country has exempted quite a number of countries across Africa as well as internationally as a means to try to draw in your numbers basically and ensure that spread is also shared across the country. So it's both for regional as well as internationally. When we're talking about access, the other one is also a lift, where destinations are basically looking at investing in new routes. And this is they're doing this right across the board through various agreements, as well as opening up all routes that were basically closed during COVID. You're also looking at more countries trying to open routes where there's direct travel. So to try to minimize the amount of travel time between countries. And you're also looking at countries such as, for instance, India, Italy, as well as Germany that are investing in regional flights as a means to try to open up access to your less visited areas. Some of these countries, as traditional markets, one problem that has been identified, especially for countries such as your France, Italy, etc., you're looking at over tourism, which is a problem. So in terms of trying to manage those numbers and ensuring that to avoid congestion, you name it, etc., more regional flights are being provided as a means to try to share the geographic spread between countries. I mean, within the country rather, and also as a means to try to have your less visited areas basically being visited by travelers. And then lastly, there in terms of airlift, you're also looking at, as I've said, agreements between countries such as Kenya also recently signed an agreement with WestJet, as well as an MOU with Air Tanzania as a means to extend its reach in the continent. And then the other commonality between these countries, and it's something that Dr. Kuzwayo just mentioned now, is the focus on niche markets rather, investing in those and ensuring that these are promoted, especially where countries have been known for a certain product. For instance, South Africa is known for its wildlife, it's known for its beaches, climate, you name it, etc. However, there's so much more to this country in terms of what it can offer and what it does offer. And some of the products are not necessarily as promoted as they should be. If we're talking about bird tourism, as was initially mentioned by Dr. Kuzwai, etc. So those markets are there. They just need the investment, they need the facilities, and they need the promotion when it comes to that. So these countries that here now that are basically in this document show what they're doing also as a means to try to move beyond what they're traditionally known for. So for instance, if you're looking at India and how the country is positioning itself towards spiritual tourism, for instance, or wellness tourism, as it's called. You're also looking at Kenya, which is a direct competitor for South Africa, that's looking beyond its safaris as well as beach tourism. And they're looking into niche markets such as medical tourism, faith-based travel, as well as sports tourism. You're looking at Germany that's making use of its local resources by promoting more towards camping, hiking. So your nature-based or ecotourism activities are very much high on the list. And that's also in line with changing customer needs or customer interests, where a lot more tourists are looking into your more eco-friendly kind of holidays. They're looking at holidays that are more in tune with nature as a means to center oneself or to follow some form of spiritual journey, etc. That in itself speaks to wellness when it comes to this. So ultimately, those are the commonalities that you'll find across these countries. And the one thing that, as I was saying, that I won't go through each and every country because at the end of the day, the information is there for members to have a look at. But it's to understand that best practice is across. And it's not to say that South Africa is not doing what needs to be done, but obviously as a country, we could learn more and do better when it comes to prioritizing tourism, investing in facilities, and ensuring better access as well as infrastructure, whether it's at air level or ground transportation. So those are some of the considerations when it comes to looking at or choosing a country for the, what do you call it, for a study tour. And what an option for members in this particular instance as well is, instead of just focusing on one country, there's the possibility of grouping countries, for instance, obviously dependent on the distance when it comes to ground transportation. That could be used as a means, whether you're traveling between France and Germany, and to try to get a sense of what is being done at ground level, whether it's your rural, your agritourism, you name it, etc. So not only just grouping two countries as for one tour, there's also the opportunity to actually theme the tour itself. So where the members are very clear as to whether they want to visit the country on the basis of these particular niche markets that have been developed or are developed in these countries, and to learn best practices when it comes to that. But ultimately, it's also very important to highlight the importance of the trip, also including visits to the hubs that South African tourism has in those countries, because as I've initially said, that opportunity has not been fully utilized by the committee in terms of actually doing oversight of those offices, seeing how those offices operate in those particular markets, how the resources basically of the entity are being used when it comes to that. So as I close off here, members, what I'd like to raise again is the fact that the entity has offices in France, Germany, India, the Netherlands, Nigeria, the UK and Ireland, Australia, Brazil, the USA, Japan, as well as China. And based on the information presented there, I think the recommendations can vary between Kenya, France, Germany, as well as India. And the reason why I mention Kenya is the fact that within the continent, it is a direct competitor of South Africa. You're looking at France and Germany, those are traditional markets, and not only just traditional markets, but in terms of best practice, there's quite obviously an overview when it comes to having that, but it's also looking at how they've, over time, continued to reinvent themselves as destinations for different types of tourists, and how they've actually utilized your digital spaces as a means to try to cement or continuously cement their role, or rather their place in the travel sector. And lastly, India is also another option as an emerging destination for travel and tourism. And not only that, but obviously the fact that it is a BRICS partner with South Africa. And that is all from my side, members. Thank you very much.
Chairperson, I think Tisang can just go after Sisanda. So sorry for that. So that maybe members can have a clear picture before interaction. If Tisang, you can just zoom into the program, the proposed oversight program of the committee in the remainder of the year.
Okay, over to you, Tisang.
Okay, thanks, Doc. If you can just stop sharing there. Okay, Chair, this is the program we are having, a draft program for until the March 2026. I'll quickly run through it as was discussed last week. So this one starts on the first week when we come back in the fourth term. We are proposing that the committee, since we will be the time will be dedicated to the budgetary review and recommendations report, that the committee actually visits the Gauteng and have the meetings with the department at the departmental offices for their annual report and financial statements for 2024-2025. Secondly, the committee also goes to the SA tourism offices to receive their annual report and financial statements as part of also oversight. That also gives the committee an opportunity to engage with the employees of the department and the employees of the South African Tourism. Then the other things that we are proposing on that particular week is that the committee also undertakes some infrastructure projects, site visits to infrastructure projects within Gauteng province, like the Cradle of Humankind and many other tourism facilities within the townships. Also engage maybe in a stakeholder and meeting with people, structures that are involved in tourism within Gauteng province, but also to check the preparation for G20 meeting in Nasrec from a tourism perspective, to check how the Gauteng tourism and SA tourism are working together to ensure that the people of Gauteng benefit from the hosting of the G20. And then we're proposing that the next week, when we come back, we adopt our budgetary review and recommendations report, which will be around the 14th of October. And then on the 21st of October, we propose a joint meeting with the Portfolio Committee on Law, Labor and Employment, where we'll get a briefing from the Federation of Hospitality Associations, the Tourism Business Council of South Africa, and the Department of Labor and Employment on the employment of foreigners in hotels and restaurants, but also to look at the adherence to labor laws in the establishments. And then we also look at our consideration of our oversight report. And then we're looking at, there's another week that has been set aside for oversight, which is the 27th to the 7th of November. So, which is a 2 weeks program. So we are proposing 2 provinces to the committee. That one week we spend it in Limpopo, and the other week we spend it in Mpumalanga, which will almost take the same format as the one we did in Gauteng, which will entail your stakeholder engagement and also visits to the site infrastructure projects, and also the engagement with the provincial and local authorities, and also to look at the infrastructure projects that are there. And then on the 11th of November, we are proposing that the committee meets with the Tourism Transformation Council on their action plan to advance transformation in the tourism sector. You will remember that in the last year, we attempted to have a meeting with the Tourism Council. At the time they came to the committee, they didn't have any plans available at that point in time. So we thought the committee, as requested, we thought we must prioritize that particular meeting. And then on the 18th of November, 2025, a briefing by the Department of Tourism on the efforts to promote domestic tourism. This will be with the TBCSA, which is the Tourism Business Council of South Africa, SA Tourism, and SANPACS. Also in that meeting, we are proposing that committee should also explore the issue of dual pricing. That's got to do with the pricing for foreigners vis-a-vis tourists vis-a-vis South African tourists. And then on the 25th of November, a briefing by the Department of Tourism on the South African tourism and South African tourism on the first term performance report for 2025-2026 financial year. And then on the 1st to the 5th of December, it's a committee week. So we're proposing that the committee focuses on the Western Cape, and also to propose maybe we can have that colloquium on tourism SMMEs support in collaboration with the PC on small business development, if that committee is available. And then the committee can also undertake oversight visits within the Western Cape for the last week of December. That will take us into our December holidays. And then we come back in January. We are proposing that in January, we do the study tour for the countries that the committee would identify. We had Kenya there as an African country. That is our competitor in Africa. And then we've got Germany, India, and France. I guess the researcher has at least enlightened us on what to look for in the countries. And then that should be like a 2 weeks program, depending on what the House Chairperson approves, how many days. And then for the Tuesday, the 10th of February, which will be after the State of the Nation address, we're proposing a briefing by the National Public Transport Regulator and the South African Tourism Services Association, which is SATSA, on backlog in processing tour operator licensing, which is also a burning issue that has been raised since the legacy report. And then on the 17th of February 2026, briefing by Tourism Grading Council on the criteria and price of grading of hospitality facilities. And also looking at the discrimination against facilities in poor and working class areas, how that particular criteria disadvantages poor facilities in poor communities. And then we're looking at the 24th of February, we're proposing a workshop with the National Conventions Bureau on the bidding process, just to take the committee through an informal session, which is a workshop. And then we're proposing on the 3rd of March that the Department of Tourism must brief the committee on the framework for regulating economy. I think Doc, I might have
sharing economy.
Sharing economy, regulating the sharing economy. Yes, and then that one is an engagement with the Department of Tourism. And then on the 10th of March 2025, we're proposing a briefing by the Department of South African Tourism on the route development strategy. Yeah, that's all for me until next year, March. That's a proposal, Chairperson. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much, Disang. Actually, thank you to the doc for his presentation, and to Miss Loni, and also yourself, Disang. Honorable members, here are the 3 presentations that we've received. And if you've recalled, Doc has mentioned that we need to adopt each presentation that was presented to us. So I now hand over to you members to engage the documents or the presentations, and therefore after that we adopt them. Thank you. I'll be noting hands. It's for now. I see Honorable Ishmael and Honorable Linda. Honorable Ishmael.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Chair. Good morning, colleagues, and good morning to everybody on this platform. Thank you so much. I had a few questions. Just for clarity, I know Anne-Marie has also submitted quite a bit as well. I'm just querying on one issue with regard to transformation, Doc. Maybe, I think this should be added because given, South Africa's commitment to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, the committee's work should be guided in part by integrating the SDGs into its oversight and policy functions. This is obviously aligned as well to the GNU priorities. So, Doc, I have WhatsApped you. I'm not sure if you received it, and I WhatsApped Disang, but I'm suggesting that we include, we include the SDGs, especially with regard to to our oversight and policy functions. That is. To SDG 1, SDG 5, SDG 8, and SDG 10, which emphasizes poverty reduction, gender equality, decent work and economic growth, and reduced inequality. I think these goals, provide a platform for the transformation and sustainable development of the tourism sector. So I would suggest that these actually be included when we're looking at transformation, please. I had another query with regard to, our international benchmarking studies, because I was looking at France and Italy, although they're the biggest tourist destinations in the world, but, I would say that they're a bit out of our league. When we're looking at South Africa, we don't have the same things to offer, and we're obviously much further away from our target markets. So I was looking at countries offering the same kind of natural beauty that we have, like Australia or some other African countries, maybe Brazil. But then I had to look at all our international hubs, and I see some of our international hubs are, in France, etc. So I'm happy with that. I wanted to also just on a 2-finger on the TOMSA levy. I am a bit concerned with regard to this because, we have all seen the media statement with regard to the 500 million rand that TBCSA is saying they are not going to be giving to SAT. They're going to be withholding simply because they're not happy with the way the dissolved board saga has been handled. And I am concerned because I believe I heard that they did have the MOU signed with the CEO at the time, and I think with the executive, but I'm told the dissolved board didn't even have a look at it. And I think from the perspective of the committee, we should be requesting, I am submitting a written question, but I'm saying for the committee as well, we need to actually ask on the MOU signed between TBCSA and the department or SAT on how on what basis the TOMSA levy has been agreed on to be given to SAT, because I'm told they are withdrawing or they're holding back with regard to the as I said, a dissolved board saga. And secondly is the fact that SAT has been getting qualified audits. And I think they have put some, requirements down. And I think it's important for us to see that MOU. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Ishmael. Honorable Linda.
Honorable Chair, thank you very much for chairing the meeting today. Chairperson, I first want to say, well done. Thank you. This is a very opportunistic strategic plan. But if we can achieve this in the next 5 years, we will definitely leave a legacy of taking tourism in South Africa to new heights. I'm very excited about this. So well done on all the inputs by the members and the office who compiled the final plan. And although we received it very late, and I think all of us would have wanted a little bit more time to have a look at the final draft, I think this is great. I'm also very excited about the agri-tourism program, and I'm thankful that members and the office realize the importance of this and endorse that such a program will grow our economy and create jobs and bring opportunities to our rural communities. Chairperson, I want to make one submission, and if Dr. Kuzwayo can maybe also talk on it if he wants to, but I think something that we all forgot is rail infrastructure. So if the committee and my colleagues concur to this, let us add to 10.2 on the plan, on our strategic plan, at 10.2, just add the wording next to the road to say, and rail infrastructure. So that we, I don't want it to look like we forgot about the rail. Let's just include rail in there, and then I will be very satisfied with this report. Chairperson, thank you. And then on the international tour report, Ms. Loni, thank you. I can see that you did extensive research. I will also read a bit further on the document. We couldn't study that extensively because of the short time that we had. But just tongue in the cheek, now you can research for us where to obtain the funds to visit all these exciting countries. Chairperson, thank you. That's my submission. Have a good meeting.
Thank you very much, Honorable Linda. Over to you again, Doc. Before I request members to start adopting the documents, just respond to the additions they are making and the concerns they raised.
Thanks, Chairperson and honorable members. Now we will take all the inputs as members have suggested and include them in the document before we submit it. But it's important, as you mentioned, Chair, earlier, that we have, because we have even received a reminder from administration about the submission of these documents by Friday the 19th. So it's really your document, honorable members. Ours is to read through what you are saying and make sense of it and incorporate it in the document so that at least by Friday, all that members, the issues around TOMSA, I think we're going to have an opportunity also with the minister when we visit them through the annual report processes to get, because what we have are just media statements, but we need to know for sure if the decision has been communicated, because if the decision has been communicated, then the issue of the MOU, whether there is a breach of contract between SAT, because if there was an MOU signed, MOU, I don't think it depends on who is at the helm. It will be with the organization, not with the individuals within the. So there might be a breach of contract issue that maybe the executive might need to follow up in terms of the MOU. But these are all issues that we will flag for the BRRR stroke annual report process when the committee meets the chairperson. But as for all other inputs, and I do see your WhatsApp message, Honorable Ishmael, we will incorporate the suggestions accordingly. From our side, except the issue of the budget, because I think that one is on us. We did mention the issue of the budget last year with the last week with the members. It is just to populate the budget for the we have a budget that we have populated. It's just that we haven't. I'm not sure, but no, let me not go there, Chairperson, because we discussed the issue of budget last, because what is important mainly is for this financial year, and we did discuss the budget. We have populated the table of a budget. We'll just insert it as discussed last week, and the documents on our side are ready for your adoption, members, with all the amendments from last week as effected, and with additional member inputs from this meeting, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kuzwa. As you say, it is upon us as members to then follow up on these recommendations and priorities moving forward, and also include them in the department's BRRR. Members will now adopt this program from these presentations or documents from the first one, which is the 5-year strategic plan. I'll now note hands, members. Members, it's not only Honorable Ishmael and Honorable Linda in this meeting. Thank you, Honorable Livo. I see your hand is up. Honorable Ikaraba.
No, thank you very much, Dr. Kuzayo, and all the presentations made. On the strategic plan, I would like to second the plan regarding the issue of tracking of tourists to continue to be part of the work done by the SAT, and then on our side, they must continue to give us a report a quarterly as they used to do. And the other one is on the, I'm moving for the adoption of the very same document with the amendment made by Honorable Linde to add the rail transport. I therefore second the strategic plan doc as our document.
Thank you, Honorable Ikaraba. Honorable Ikaraba has adopted the 5-year strategic plan. Can I please have a seconder, members? Before I move to the annual performance plan, I see Honorable Ishmael.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to second it with all the amendments we discussed today. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll now move to the annual performance plan. Can I now note hands that seek to adopt and second that document? Honorable Ishmael.
Actually, Chair, I forgot to lower my hand, but I don't mind proposing that we adopt it with any amendments discussed at this meeting today. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Ishmael. Honorable Buthelezi.
I also don't have any concerns, Chairperson. I would like to second.
Thank you very much. And then lastly, we move to the proposed program that was presented by Tesang, Honorable Likaraba. Honorable Likaraba on the program.
No, thank you very much, Chairperson. I move the program as submitted to be the guideline for for the committee from now until the end of March. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Garaba. Honorable Buthelezi.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. On the program that was presented by Secretary Desang, I just want to follow up about the board that was dissolved. I don't see any way where we are going maybe to follow up on after what happened with the minister, unless I missed that part. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Buthelezi. But in that meeting when we were dealing with the board, the chair mentioned that once the board goes to court, there is nothing from our side. Well, it does not stop us as members from questioning the minister, and minister comes to every portfolio committee. But I'll give Desang to clarify that for probably a better understanding or how he would put it. Desang, before I take Honorable Linda.
Okay, thank you very much, Chair. Yeah, you are correct. Remember, we did submit a request also for legal opinion from the parliamentary legal advisors on the basis that the matter now is sub judice because it's in court, and what other avenues that the committee have in terms of moving the matter forward. So as soon as the committee gets that legal advice, then the committee will be able to revisit the matter at that particular time.
No, thank you very much, Desang. Honorable Linda, I see your hand is up.
Chairperson, thank you very much. I don't want to take us back, and please excuse me if I'm misunderstood. The APP, you asked that we approve the APP, but are we not having separate discussions on the APP?
Honorable Linda, the documents were presented one by one. So I thought when I opened hands for engagements and honorable members engaged, honorable members were engaging all three documents because all three documents were presented at once and then deliberations. It was not the 5-year strategic plan, then deliberations, then the APP, then deliberations, then the program. It was, they were presented all at once. So when members came in, members were supposed to come in and deliberate on all three of them.
Thank you, Chair. Then I've missed that opportunity. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Honorable Likaraba has adopted the program. Honorable Tito, your hand was also up.
Thanks, Chairperson. Greetings to everyone who is present. I'm seconding Honorable Ligarab. Thanks, Chair.
No, thank you very much, honorable members. All three documents or presentation have been adopted by the portfolio committee. And like I said earlier on, it is now ours as honorable members to make sure that these priorities and recommendation reflect in everything of the department and SAT, so that at the end of the day, we do champion what we want to champion as a portfolio committee. And is there any other thing, Desang, on the agenda? I don't see it here. And
No, there isn't, Chair, but just to say that I have shared an invite from the Minister also for the World Tourism Day, which is taking place on the 27th of September in Gauteng, for the Chair and the members to note.
Okay, I think they'll note, and when I've recovered, honorable members, I'll share my experience of going to the G20 with you. And as Desang has said, there is an invitation for members. Like I said, when I've recovered, I'll just share with members on my whole experience of going to the G20 this past week. And apart from that, if there's nothing else, honorable members, I'd like to thank everyone for allowing me.
Chairperson, sorry, I don't have the hand raising thing here. Just before you close, Chair, we would like to thank the committee for the entire process, and we know you did not have ample time, maybe like other committees, but in the short space of time last week and today, we were able to engage thoroughly on the issues and the submissions that we receive from members. Just two things from us, maybe in terms of the way forward. As the documents have been approved, we will effect the changes as said, then through the office of the chairperson, make sure that we comply administratively, that by the 19th all the documents are in. But also with the issue of the study tour, because we were approving it with the suggestions there, like in the program is Kenya plus those three countries. Maybe chairperson, because it is important for us as support staff, particularly for Yandiswa, to start all the application processes, because Parliament guided us that at least for study tours, we need a time of about 3 months to enable all the processes of members who do not have like your passports, the issue of engaging DECO, the country offices, and so on and so on. So what we are requesting, we are adopting the APP with those 4 countries, is Kenya, which is the local one, plus also the other one international. So we would like to know from members as to when, because we do not have another committee meeting. It's our last meeting for this term. So we'd like chairperson to know when can we get a go-ahead. Maybe through the office of the chairperson, members can do the round robin thingy to decide on which country, after you've satisfied yourself, then we get a go-ahead on which country or countries do we put the political application for in terms of the study tours. It's just guidance in terms of when can we await a final selection of the countries that the committee will be visited. So that will be all from our, and also with the issue of dissolved bodies, Dizang has said, but members will also have an opportunity when we meet SAT in October. The minister will be there and SAT will be there, and so there'll be an opportunity also to discuss any matters related to the board when we meet SAT. But in terms of the legal issues, we are still waiting for the legal opinion. But most importantly for us, Chair, is to get an indication of when are we receiving the final list of countries or a country that the committee will visit based on what Ms. Lonnie has submitted to the committee. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Doc. I think honorable members have really deliberated on the countries, and as we adopted them as we are, it now lies within the office of the chair, which I think even today she will then do it. We would not delay the work of yourselves, Doc. We've adopted it as it was recommended and leave it to the hands of the office of the chairperson to then give further guidance, which I think she will do it probably later today. And with that being said, honorable members, let me take this opportunity to thank you for allowing me to be your chair for today and the participation. The meeting is officially adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. You did
Thank
well.
you. Bye.